We're up to chapter 9, verse 3. So we talked about the fact that as part of the inauguration ceremony, the Miluim, they had to make 3 loaves of bread, and they also had to bring a bull and 2 rams. Verse 3, you shall place them in one basket. What are you placing in one basket? You're placing 3 loaves of bread in one basket, and each one is 10 loaves. So basically, you're putting 30 loaves of bread in one basket. Vikraftem otam basal that and so you bring the 30 loaves in one basket, and you bring them in the basket near to, we'll see to what, with the bull and the 2 rams. Rashi says, El Chatzar Mishkan biyom hakamoto. On the day that the Mishkan is built, you bring them close into the courtyard of the Mishkan. So that's what it means. It doesn't mean you bring them on the altar. That's the point. It means you're bringing them close to into the courtyard with 30 loaves of bread, which is not an insignificant number of loaves, and also a bull and 2 rams. That Aaron that banav takriv al petach ol moed, and Aaron and his, you had a question, John? Baruch atah Adonai Muhammad shakol name dvaro. And Aaron and his sons you shall bring to the entrance to the tent. Virachatzo tam hamayim, and you shall bathe them in water. So you should, Aaron and his sons. No, Aaron and his sons. Before, what does it mean? Rashi says what it means. Zutfilat kol haguf, that their whole body was supposed to be immersed. It doesn't mean you give them a bath. It means that they have to immerse in a mikvah. So basically, you take Aaron and his children to the end.
It means wash. So the word is washed.
Right. So it can mean, the Hebrew word can mean either to bathe or rinse or other words. So that's why Rashi is telling us that it means that they had to immerse in, to purify themselves. That's what Rashi is telling us. The whole body was immersed. That's Rashi's interpretation, because the word is unusual, as you're pointing out, Steve. And then after they immersed, and that makes sense that they immersed their whole body, because now you have to get dressed. You shall take the garments, et Aaron, et hakutonet, vet mi'il ha'ifod, vet hachoshen, v'afaratelo b'cheshev ha'ifon. You shall take the garments, and you clothe Aaron in the kutonet, in the mi'il, in the ephod, and the ephod and the choshen, and you afartelo b'cheshev ha'ifod. So let's go over this. We have the kutonet, that's like the checkered robe, the checkered tunic. The mi'il is the robe that goes above that. Here it's called the mi'il of the ephod, and then the ephod, which is like a apron that goes over the robe, and the choshen is the breastplate. And you shall beautify him with the cheshev of the ephod. What does that mean? Rashi says, "Va'afarata" means you shall beautify kashet v'takein achagora v'sinar tzvivotav, adorn and enhance the appearance of the Kohen Gadol by binding the belt and the apron of the ephod around him. Very powerful idea. This is to me like sometimes you see a chuppah that the groom, after he walks down the aisle, he puts on the kittel, and then the mother or the father of the groom ties him with the kittel. They help him get dressed. That's what Moshe is here, is dressing Aaron in this apron, in this special apron. Rashi goes according to the opinion that he says that the apron looked like the garments that the noblewomen in France wore while they rode their horses. He used to see the noblewomen riding their horses wearing these riding aprons, because the Torah never tells us what the apron looks like, the ephod. V'samtam etznefet al rosho, and then you put the turban on his head. V'natata nezer hakodesh al etznefet, and then you put the holy crown on the turban. So what does it mean, Rashi says nezer hakodesh? That's the tzitz. This is the golden forehead plate called the tzitz. Al mitznefetz k'moshe pirasht as low as explained above. How do they attach it? Through the psila emtzai, through the middle, by means of the middle string of the tzitz. Ushnei psilin shebarosh, and 2 strings at its end. So they stick 2 strings and they tie it behind the neck. Who knows? No, mitznefes kamen kova. So he put the tzitz over the mitznefet like a kova. Where does tefillin go? Did the Kohen Gadol wear tefillin?
I've never seen pictures of it. Well, he must.
Did the Kohen Gadol wear tefillin?
I say the answer is no. But it could be both.
Oh, let's see what Rabbi Yosef says. Did the Kohen Gadol wear tefillin?
I would say that underneath the migbat, because it has to be
Underneath.
on top of the hair.
So, but also the tefillin of the head is supposed to be visible. So let's look in the here. Look here. Hold on. Here, it's a dispute. What do they say that you have a source there? Here's what it says. Here's what it says. Here it says. So Tosafot Tezvachim explains it. So Rashi says it's not considered an extra garment because the reason is because it's called an ornament, not a garment. So therefore, it's not considered like they were wearing 9 garments. But so that's where they did wear it. All the Kohanim wore it, and it was just a question of how they fit it in amongst the seats. Okay. So now we go on. But Rashi doesn't mention it here. Because here's the other thing. Let's see what's going on. If it's the boys, invite them in. So here's the other question. If he had to wear his tefillin now, how do he wear his tefillin? We're only in Exodus, but the passages of the tefillin are from Deuteronomy.
Why would that be brought right? Like, why is that even brought up? That's a question.
Bring up every question we can.
Fair.
Okay, so
Was the Choshen the only thing on the Kohen Gadol that actually had like power for that was like a nate that was used as a nace? Like the other things didn't. They're just decorative and they had symbolic, but they weren't powerful. Correct.
So the Choshen, the breastplate had the Urim V'Tumim, which most commentaries say was like the name of God slipped into the back of it. So the other garments did not have these magical qualities. Okay. So this is where we got confused, because here it says you take the anointing oil, the Yatzakta Rosho, you shall pour it on his head, and you shall anoint him. Meaning to say that yesterday we said you have to anoint the bread, and now we're being told you have to anoint his head. And Rashi says this is why we thought we started here. We finished this yesterday because it says this. How did you anoint him? Also like the kai, like we said yesterday. Rashi says Av Mashiach min kai. Notice in Shemen al Rosho, you put the oil on his head, ubein risei einav, and among his eyelashes, umechabram be'etzba'o, and you connect the oil with his finger. Excuse me, you called them in? Okay.
Some syrup.
Cereal?
Is this the first area where we see like physical anointing of something on somebody's head? It's a very non-Jewish practice to do, certainly on Ash Wednesday or other times to anoint. And is this the first time that
When you say it's a non-Jewish practice, it means that non-Jews also do it. But it doesn't mean it's not a Jewish practice, because there's a strong custom of placing ashes on the head of a groom and a bride under the chuppah to remember Jerusalem. So
when the king is in England, his coronation, they anoint his head with oil.
yeah, well, that goes back. Well, in the Torah, in the Tanakh, they anoint, but this is the first time we're told to anoint.
So this
Aaron.
is the first time
Yeah.
anybody's been anointed in that manner in any sort of historical.
Oh, I don't know what other books do, but I know that this is. Wow! Come in here. Please. Akiva and Kobe, sit down. We're so honored. What a geschmack entrance you guys make. I see you didn't want the matzo ball soup. Yeah.
It was.
Okay, well, we'll show you after. And the yachnun. We'll show you after the jachnun. And the guacamole also.
Sorry, that's just.
Oh, yeah, because he's Moroccan. And Morocco is close to Yemen. Okay, so now we go on.
So is that the only time we anoint the flag?
No. Today,
Yes.
today, when are we anointing? Are we anointing any other time? We don't anoint any other time today, but
Like other religions do a lot more anointing.
well, oh no, but we put the ashes on the head at a wedding. And other than that, we don't do anointing today on the head.
I can't remember the last time you've seen that.
Ashes on the head at a wedding?
Yeah.
That's because you weren't invited to my brother's wedding. If you would have been invited there, you would have seen the rabbi do it. It's not my minhag when I have the honor of being Messiah Kedushin. In just a couple of years, I'll be Messiah Kedushin at Moshe's wedding and Kobe's wedding. And when we do that there, if you want, we'll put the ashes on their heads. And Akiva's will. Yeah. It's up to your bride. So we'll do it up to your bride. Okay, let's go on. Okay, fine. So, okay, that banav takriv, and then you take Aaron's son's clothes, v'ilbashtem kutanot, and you dress them in the tunics. But they, significantly, they just have 4 garments. So they're not going to wear the tzitzis. They're going to wear the breeches, the mechnasayim, the kutanot, the tunic, the belt, and the hat. But they don't wear the me'il, the ephod, the tzitzis. They don't wear those and the choshen. They don't have those garments. Okay, and the ephod. V'chagartam otam avneit, and then Aaron uvanav, and then you wrap a belt around Aaron and his children. V'chavashto lahem migbaot, and you wrap the migbaot on them. V'aytel lahem kuhuna v'chukatoam umiweta at yadam, and then there'll be a kuhuna forever. And you will fill the hands of Aaron, Yad Aaron, Yad Banav. So first of all, before we even get to the Rashi, what's the difference between what do the Kohanim, the regular Kohanim, wear on their head? The sons of Aaron, what do they wear?
Like the tall thing, right?
So Aaron is called the mitznefet, and Aaron is called a turban. But for these boys, and not boys, the sons of Aaron, it's called the migbaot. Now, we don't know. Some say that they look the exact same. Some say they look different. Also, they both wore belts. Are their belts the same? There too, there's a question because the belt of the Kohanim is not described. And also, it says here they're going to be Kohanim forever. So what this means, says Rashi, is by inaugurating them, then this inauguration shall be forever. So by doing these things, you're inaugurating them forever. What things? You've taken 30 loaves of bread, 3 different types. You've taken 3 animals, and you immerse them in the mikvah, Moshe Rabbeinu, and then you dressed them. And now that's the inauguration ceremony. But it's still not done yet. We have more to do. V'krafta at apar. Wait, Rashi says we skipped to Rashi. 1 second. Yad Aaron v'yad banav, and you will inaugurate the hands of Aaron and his children. Be mi'oy fkudat kahuna, in the inauguration appointment of the kahuna. Yes, Rabbi Yosef.
Why did Pinchas have to be promised that he too will be a Kohen if Hashem already said Kunat Olam?
Yeah, because Pinchas was alive already, and so therefore he was excluded. Everybody else who was born was going to be included, but Pinchas was excluded.
So what's Chukat Olam mean?
So meaning to say everybody else from Pinchas was going on down, but he had missed the bracha.
Okay.
So now it says Vikrafta is a power of Nei Ol Moed. You should bring the bull before the Ol Moed. So the first thing you do, remember we have the par, the bull, and the 2 rams. So you bring the bull to the Ol Moed, and Aaron shall place his hands, and Aaron and his sons will place their hands on the head of the bull. Rashi says nothing. V'shachatita is a power of Nei Hashem, and you shall slaughter the bull before Hashem. Pesach Ol Moed. You slaughter the bull right there at the entrance to the tent. Rashi says, "B'chatzar Mishkan shelfnei Pesach," in the courtyard of the Mishkan, in front of the entrance. Meaning to say, you bring it in the courtyard. B'chatzar Mishkan shelfnei Pesach. Okay. Now, what do you do after you slaughter the bull? What's Moshe supposed to do? This is the only time Moshe does the avodah, is in the Miluim. That's the only time Moshe does the service. All the rest, it's the Kohenim's responsibility. But now he's supposed to take the blood. Take from Moshe. You shall take from the blood of the bull. I keep calling Moshe. He keeps turning. You put it on the horns of the altar. With your fingers. So Moshe is supposed to take some blood and apply it to the corners of the altar. And then take all the rest of the blood and pour it to the foundation of the altar. Let's just look at the Rashi, then we'll take Jerry's question. You put it on karnos mamash, on top of the actual corners. Meaning to say, with other sacrifices, the Kohen stands on the ground and tosses the blood onto the lower half of the Mizbeach, below the horns. Here the Kohen is supposed to go up on the altar and put it directly on the four upper corners. And all the dam, the rest of the blood, Shiari Adam, he puts it on the base. What was the base of the altar? This was like a receptacle that was protruding from the altar all the way around. After it rose an amma from the ground. Okay. So Jerry, you had a question.
Not a question, a comment, an observation.
Okay.
I saw some pictures of altars in Egypt that had horns on the four corners of the altar. Very interesting. So apparently we Jews, because we lived in Egypt, we copied that particular item and onto our Mizbeach.
It is interesting. I hadn't thought about that. The structure of the altars. When I was in Saudi Arabia, when we went to Mount Sinai, the tour guide was very excited because one of the mountains we went to had a place where they brought the animals down like a path towards the altar. And that was just stones. I didn't see any horns on that altar, but it's, 3,500 years later. So presumably it's not surprising that if there were horns that they didn't survive, but it was an altar.
They knew where Mount Sinai was?
We went to Mount Sinai. Yeah, I went there.
The tour guide knew?
I knew.
Oh, how?
We have done research. We did research and we narrowed it down to one of three possible mountains in northern Saudi Arabia. So we went to all three to cover our bases. But the one we slept at, we were convinced it was Mount Sinai. And that's where we did the Daf Yomi and prayed at sunrise. But that's not the one that had the altar. Even though it does say that an altar was built at Mount Sinai, but that's not the one that had the altar. See, the altar that was in the Mishkan was something that had to be transported. They filled it up with earth. They took it and they had to move it because the Mishkan moved 22 different times before it went into Shiloh. Okay. Now after Moshe applies the blood to the horns, yeah, we could talk about Saudi Arabia later. I wish you would have come with me on that trip. We had a lot of people. It was very gewaltig, very geschmack trip. We want to go to New Zealand also. What? No, we're not allowed to sacrifice. I mean, you could sacrifice today, but only on the Temple Mount. And only no, you're not. Once the Beis Hamikdash was built, we're not allowed to do sacrifices outside of the Beis Hamikdash. So therefore, we could. So
Do the carbon face.
we could bring this sacrifice by Jewish law. You don't even need the altar; you just need the place of the altar, which is on the Temple Mount. But every time people have tried to do that, they've been detained. So I don't recommend it. I don't recommend the current political reality makes it not ideal.
I need to bring that crossbow.
No, you mean to slaughter the animal? But we don't know exactly where the place of the altar is. So that's what's problematic.
Yeah.
I mean, technically speaking, you could slaughter the animal with a crossbow, but it'll be very hard. You have to be an expert. You're supposed to use a knife.
No, keeping the knife.
Okay. So okay. Well, kaftar is called chelev. Well, now actually, it's a very, very controversial. But Rabbi Riskin told me that there was a guy in his town who every year on the eve of Pesach he would go say he's walking up to the Temple Mount, like to go up there, and he would be hiding a little baby sheep in his coat to try and take up there and slaughter it. But the police stopped him every year. They never let him get away with it.
Maybe
So-
we could do something like that and also bring curtains so they won't see us slaughter it.
No. It would definitely cause some people to get hurt, so I don't recommend it. So now it says, well, so after Moshe Rabbeinu sprinkles the blood, he's supposed to take all the fat, that covers over the innards. I guess we'd have to really dissect an animal here and to see the fat that's covering over the innards. That's a yoseres al kaved, and the diaphragm over the liver, v'shtei klayos, and the two kidneys, v'sachela v'sharleim, with their fat, v'ktarta hamizbech. And you're supposed to take basically these fats and the caudate lobe of the liver and the kidneys and the fats on them and put them on the altar. Yes, Jerry, you had a question?
Yes. My question is, that covers the innards.
Yeah.
The English translation of Rashi is, this is the membrane upon the maw, M-A-W. And I looked up the word ma, and it means mouth. So what does Rashi
No.
quotes Tosafos in the
No.
Chulin? What
No.
what membrane in the mouth is Rashi talking about?
No, this is the krum shal keres. Rashi says that the fat that covers the innards is the membrane on the kares, the stomach, which is called toy in French. Basically, there are 4 stomachs to the cow, and one of them is called the keres. So this is the one that covers the keres, not the mouth. It's one of the membranes to one of the stomachs, and then there's also the diaphragm, the hyoteres. This is the membrane of the liver, which is called the ebres in Old French. When I was studying Chul, and I was going over all these terms with my wife, and she knows anatomy, and she said it's the caudate lobe of the liver that they're referring to. So that's what she told me. And then there's the yoseres al kaved. Afmina kaved toima. So take some of the liver along with the diaphragm. So maybe that's referring to the last part of the liver, which is the caudate lobe. Okay.
So the English translation, the word maw, M-A-W, is incorrect.
No, what does maw mean? I don't know what maw means. I don't know that. I'm not saying they're incorrect.
Maw means the mouth, M-O-U-T-H, the mouth.
No, but look up the maw of a cow. Let's look that up here. I don't know that that's right, Jerry. Jerry, I learned long ago that whenever you and I are discussing something, you're usually right and I'm usually wrong. But let me just say maw. Let me look it up. Search the mouth of an animal or the crop of a fowl. So it could be the crop. I don't know. Well, it could also be the mouth, throat. Well, it does say it, but
The commentary in Steinsaltz says.
yeah, but that's not what my translation of Rashi says. They don't translate it as more, so I don't know why. I don't know. At first glance, it seems to me that the translation that Rabbi Yosef's putting up there is inaccurate on this one piece. But again, this is not an area where I'm an expert. So, okay. And then you have to take that, but usually, I'll admit, usually these are the parts of the Torah that I don't put as much effort into understanding as the other parts. The other parts seem, and at first glance, more engaging, although now I'm getting interested in this.
Steinsaltz actually comments on this fat. This thing.
What does he say?
He says that it covers the abdominal muscles and it serves to protect the inner organs and regulate body temperatures. And it's involved in hormonal activity, and it also allows the animal to store energy for times when other sources of nutrition are unavailable. So it's like almost like it's where
It's
the
fat.
energy of the animal is like what'd you say?
It's the fat. That's
Yeah,
what fat does. It's a fat
But
reserve.
it's about where nutrition. I don't know why it's different to the scientific stuff.
It's different fat than the fat in the rest of the.
I see.
Yeah,
Very highly prized by chefs.
yeah,
I
yes,
guess.
yeah,
Kidney fat is really regarded very high.
yeah, very high. Yeah, one.
Hardly again, takes time. No people.
Yeah, well, you're allowed to sell it.
Mhm.
You could sell it. You're allowed to get benefit from that. From this one was supposed to be burned. All right, let's dive in mincha at this point, my friend. Let's dive in mincha. Always in.